In racing, making the right move at the right time is often the key to success. However, it isn't the only key. Shifting into high gear at the right time is always a part of a strategy aligned with a goal. Today, I'll show you how the same formula can help you win the biggest race of them all, your retirement. I'm Wes Wood, the Income Guy. I'm also founder and president of Wood Financial Group. And for nearly 20 years, I've specialized in helping hardworking Tennesseans just like you reach their retirement goals through income-based financial strategies. I work with my clients to build customizable portfolios based on their retirement needs. And if you're looking for the right solutions and unique solutions to achieve your retirement goals, please reach out to me at retiretv.com or call us at 855-776-0614. I'm also a host of the Retirement Income Show on WLAC Radio, and I've appeared on Fox Business News as well as the Income Generation on Newsmax. And right now, you can catch me every week here. Today, I want to break down the winning formula I call the 3 keys to successful retirement. And we're going to talk about, 1, the importance of setting specific goals. Having a strategy aligned with your goal, which means, in my experience, an income-based strategy for most people. And lastly, how to time your strategy just right. And as we go along, we're going to have some fun showing you how the same winning formula is one that works well in sports. Everything from racing to rugby and all the sports in between. And we're also going to get insights from one of the top names in investing for income, best-selling author and the host of the Income Generation, David Scranton. But right now, let's take a closer look at the first key to successful retirement, setting your specific goals. Do you remember the movie Rocky? When Rocky fought Apollo Creed, remember his goal? It wasn't to knock out the champ. It was just to go the distance, to last all 15 rounds. And as a result, he used a strategy aligned with that goal. So what does that have to do with your retirement? Am I suggesting you go out there and start pounding raw meat or waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and start running like Rocky did? Of course not, but what I'm pointing out is that having specific goals are very important when it comes to building your retirement strategy. And here's the thing most people discover about their goals once they identify them. Their goals are purpose-based. So what does that mean? Well, for some people, investing itself is like a sport. The main thing they're interested in is just chasing performance. They want to get maximum portfolio growth so they can brag about it. It's almost like a competition. However, if you're like most people, you're not investing for performance at all, but for a purpose. And typically, that purpose is so that when you do retire, you can do things that you want to do, maintain your lifestyle. Maybe you want to spoil grandchildren, perhaps enjoy some of your hobbies and interests and do some traveling as well. And that probably sounds familiar because when I talk to most people and they take the time to identify their retirement goals, these are the kinds of things that they talk about. Naturally, details are going to be different. Maybe some of the things you want to do in retirement is scuba diving rather than needlepoint. And so scuba diving is going to cost more because it's more expensive. Or maybe you want to travel. Maybe your travel goals are spending a year in France rather than going to Gatlinburg here in Tennessee. And even though the details are different, the important question is this. If you do have purpose-based goals, how are you going to pay for those goals? Are you going to sell off shares from your investments and spend principal, or have a regular retirement income stream? And most likely it's the latter. And that means if your goals are purpose-based, they're also income-based. And as we talk more about that in just a bit, the more specific you can be about identifying your goals, the better your strategy can be tailored with them, with the help of the right advisor, of course. And that's just one way the same winning formula applies to sports, as it also applies to retirement planning. In either case, having the right coach or the right advisor is crucial. And speaking of one of those outstanding coaches and advisors, let's welcome my friend and today's guest, David Scranton. Dave is the founder of Sound Income Strategies, a registered investment advisory firm. He also has more than 30 years experience as a financial advisor and is an Amazon best-selling author. Dave is also the founder of the Retirement Income Store and the host of the Income Generation on YouTube. Hey Dave, thanks for being here today.
Well, thanks for having me, Wes. You know, it's funny because I hear you all the time talk about how most people set goals the wrong way. Can you talk about the right way to set goals versus the wrong way? Can you elaborate, please?
Absolutely. Setting goals needs to be more sensory specific, in my opinion, meaning a lot of people just kind of go into retirement without clear understanding of what their goals are. And what we found is that people that actually take the time to sit down and imagine what they want to do in retirement, they'll have a much better idea on exactly what they want to be doing. And once they figure out what their goals are by being more sensory specific and imagining what they want to be doing, then they can start building a budget around some of those goals in retirement, instead of just kind of falling into retirement and imagining maybe a few things that they want to do. By actually focusing on and taking the time to do things like just writing down their goals and imagining what they want to do, they can create a much more effective strategy to actually perform those goals once they do retire.
So Wes, it sounds like, first of all, those old rules of thumb, I could retire on 70% of my pre-retirement income, or 80%, or even 100%, doesn't matter what the number is. But it sounds like when you start your goal setting process there, it almost sounds like you're starting well into the second half of the game. That the more important part is the first half. It's all the whys, it's all the reasons why that dollar goal is going to lead to a fulfilled retirement, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, if somebody just says, hey, I need 70% of my income when I retire, but maybe they have big goals that they actually want to do. Like I mentioned before we started talking, maybe they want to spend a year in France. Well, if they haven't sat down and imagined those kind of things and actually put a number behind it to determine how much money that they're going to need to pay for that goal, a lot of times just choosing an arbitrary number of 60-70% of their income in retirement is not effective at all. It's better to start with really what you want to do and the big whys, and then determine, hey, how much is it going to take to pay for these goals through my income in retirement? That's right.
And if you're still several years away from retirement, to me it seems like, gosh, if I want motivation to save for retirement, to save more, invest more, versus spend more today, that knowing what those goals are in advance gives me really the subconscious motivation to save more versus go out and spend today, right? Because now it's not just about a dollar amount, now it's about actual real life goals, things I want to accomplish.
Yeah, and the sooner somebody can start with those goals, and normally, not 20, 30 years out maybe, but perhaps, 5 to 10 years out, if they really sit down and take the time to think about those goals, it's just much more effective. My happiest clients that I have actually took the time to imagine what they want to be doing in retirement, and now they're able to do the things they want to do. And Dave, we're going to have a lot more with you in just a moment, but coming back, we're going to talk about the second key to retirement success.
A fiduciary is someone legally obligated to act in your best interest. Doctors, lawyers, and some financial advisors are fiduciaries, but not all. When you work with Wes Wood and his team at Wood Financial Group, you are working with fiduciaries. They help clients create customized investment portfolios based off their retirement goals. If you're ready to work with a fiduciary, visit retiretv.com and schedule a free, no-obligation conversation with Wes or a Wood Financial Group advisor.
I'm David Scranton. During my career, I found that most baby boomers have done a great job growing their retirement savings, yet many don't know how to convert their savings into steady income. And that is why I built the Retirement Income Store, to help hardworking Americans preserve their assets and establish steady streams of income.
If you're 55 or older, please claim our free Retirement Income Kit, chock full of information you need to know to get steady income during your retirement. Call 866-714-7377, online at theretirementinComeStore.com.
Retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs are great tools to save for retirement. They offer tax advantages to help keep more money in your pocket. But withdrawing money from your accounts can have a huge impact on your tax liability. Take money from the right account at the right time and you could minimize it. But taking money from the wrong account at the wrong time could result in a big tax burden. If you're not sure what you should do with your 401k in retirement, visit retiretv.com to schedule a free, no-obligation conversation with Wes Wood and Wood Financial Group.
Welcome back to the Retirement Income Show. Let's talk more about the second key to successful retirement. It's a strategy aligned with your income goals for retirement. You know, in sports, once a team has identified their goal, they can now build a strategy around it. And the same thing is true with retirement planning. The more specific you can be with your goals, the more effective you can make your strategy. Now, understand that your goals do not have to be set in stone. You can change them, you can adjust them over time if you want or you need to, and most people will and are going to, which is why it's so important to review your financial strategy on a regular basis. However, if you're like most people, your goals will continue to be purpose-based that you're going to want to pay for from your regular retirement income stream. So at this point, you might be thinking, hey Wes, all this sounds good, but where do I start? Well, you can easily start by contacting me and visiting me at retiretv.com to learn much more about goal setting and investing for income, or by calling 855-776-0614. You know, one approach that some people use to get started is to estimating their cost of their goals is trying to figure out how much money they need to save. However, in my experience, that's not necessarily the best approach. The fact is, while of course it's very important to save as much as you possibly can for your retirement, if you start becoming fixated on a certain lump sum, it's going to have its drawbacks. For one thing, if you focus on that lump sum, you're chasing a specific number, and that's going to risk following a performance-based strategy that not only is not aligned with your goals, but could end up actually working against them. I believe a better first step is to start with a top-down budget analysis. And that's where you take your gross income that you're accustomed to making now, and then you add up all the expenses that are going to go away once you retire. Expenses like your payroll tax, maybe you have excess working expenses, perhaps 401k contributions, and maybe you're going to have your mortgage paid off so you can eliminate that. And then you're left with a number after doing the top-down budget analysis. And most people are, what I found, actually pleasantly surprised that they actually need less income than they thought to achieve their goals. But once again, analyzing your retirement budget is something that we can help with at Wood Financial Group. And you can visit us online at retiretv.com or by calling us at 855-776-0614. And we can also show you why having that specific lump sum is actually less important than having the right allocation. And with an income strategy, that means that an allocation is designed to not only maximize your income return, but to protect your principal and create opportunities for organic portfolio growth. But what is organic portfolio growth? Is that something that you go pick up at Whole Foods Market? It may sound like it, but of course it's not. All organic portfolio growth is simply another way to achieve growth in a retirement portfolio by shifting from a portfolio geared towards growth to shifting one towards income. So, when exactly is the right time to make the shift to income? Well, that's a very important question, and it's actually the third key to successful retirement. And we're going to talk more about that third key in just a moment, but right now I want to welcome back David Scranton. Welcome back, Dave.
Great to be back. Hey, you know, you always talk about how people, if they really get what they think they want, they all want maximum return with minimum risk in an investment portfolio, right? But
Sure.
what you talk about, it's a question of maximum return for what purposes. And you talk about three different possible eventual uses of money. So how does that concept fit into what you're talking about now?
Yeah, well, you know, it kind of goes back to, again, the purpose of money. I guess some people do want to spend their money on a specific item, like a lump sum purchase. Maybe somebody wants to save up all their money to get to a dollar figure to cash it all out and buy a vacation home in Florida. That could be one of the purposes. But what I found is that most people, the purpose of them saving up their money is to be there for retirement, which means instead of focusing on that number to buy that house or condo in Florida, they need to save up and focus on the income. So the purpose of that money is to be there to generate an income stream when they do retire. So I hope that answers your question, but at least that's a couple of the reasons.
Well, it sounds like that's why you make such a big deal about needing a retirement planning coach, if you will, because the reality is that, you know, all of your goals up until retirement are lump sum goals, right? You want to buy your first car, and then you want to buy your first home, and then maybe you want to buy a bigger home. And even paying for college for children is kind of a lump sum goal, even though there might be 4 lump sums, right? 1 for each year. But retirement is really the first goal that you're saving and investing for to generate income, correct?
That's exactly right, and not having the right coach could be a big problem. You only get this thing right one time, and if you don't have a coach to help you with that, at least from what I found. Now, some people are pretty good on their own, and they can kind of be their own coordinator and take care of certain aspects of their retirement planning. But with a true coach, it's almost like a football team that's been very successful. Well, what happens is it a lot of times it starts with the coach, and the coach is calling the plays and making the decisions. And when things get tough and there's big life-changing events, just like there could be on that football field, the coach knows what what play to call in order to win the game. And so to win the ball game of life or in retirement, a lot of times it's good to just have that coach, that sounding board, to adjust the strategies to make sure that maybe instead of saving up for that lump sum purchase like you would when you're younger and focusing on accumulation, now it's more about focusing on income. And how do you get there? And that's really where a financial coach that focuses on income and an income specialist can help make sure that it's done properly and advise people the right way.
So it's interesting, down here in Florida, a lot of people's financial goals are to get a place somewhere cooler, someplace they can go in the summertime up in the mountains or something like that. What are some of the most common financial goals that you hear retirees and pre-retirees, those that come in your office virtually every day of the week, Monday through Friday, what are some of their most common goals in the Nashville area?
Well, yeah, we're definitely in Middle Tennessee, so it's a lot different than Florida.
Yeah.
The saying is here in Middle Tennessee, if you don't like the weather today, just wait until tomorrow. So we do have the constant weather changes. So a lot of times it's not to buy that second home or residence, but most of the time when I talk to people when they're retiring, it's all about just spending more time with their family, their grandchildren. Really values is what I find a lot of times with our clients that come into our office, is they just want to have the freedom to know that they have the peace of mind in order to really spend more time with their family. And yes, traveling comes up a lot, focusing maybe, and I talk to a lot of guys, and I'm a golfer, and they say, hey, I want to spend more time at the golf course rather than at the office. But a lot of times it's just maintaining a great quality of life and being able to do the things that they really want to do. And I do have some clients that say, hey, they would like to have a vacation home down in Florida like where you are, where it's warm 24/7. So that can happen, yes.
Sure, in the wintertime, right.
Yeah. Escape down there. But well, hey, Dave, thanks for being here. I know we're going to get back to you in just a minute after the break. But right after we get back from the break, we're going to talk more about timing your retirement plan just right is so important. So we'll be right back.
A fiduciary is someone legally obligated to act in your best interest. Doctors, lawyers, and some financial advisors are fiduciaries, but not all. When you work with Wes Wood and his team at Wood Financial Group, you are working with fiduciaries. They help clients create customized investment portfolios based off their retirement goals. If you're ready to work with a fiduciary, visit retiretv.com and schedule a free, no-obligation conversation with Wes or a Wood Financial Group advisor.
I'm David Scranton. When it came time for my mom to retire, one simple mistake forced her to work years longer than she should have. And that's why I started the Retirement Income Store, to help hardworking Americans 55 and over plan for the retirement they deserve. I couldn't help my mom, but maybe I can help you.
If you're 55 or older, our free Retirement Income Kit is for you. It's chock full of information you need to know to get steady income during your retirement. Call 833-4RI-STORE, online at theretirementinComeStore.com.
Welcome back to the Retirement Income Show. I'm your host, Wesley Wood. Let's talk more about the third key to successful retirement, and that's the importance of timing. In race car driving, timing is everything. You need to know when to shift. You need to know when to time your braking. You need to know when to change lanes and turn in. All those things are vital to winning that race. But when it comes to retirement planning, many people take timing for granted. they don't realize is the third key to successful retirement. And even if they realize they need to convert their savings into income, they just assume that the right time to do it is right after they retire. But the problem with that is that it ignores the all-important transitional years. And what are these transitional years? Well, those are roughly 10 or so years before your retirement. And you can imagine that time when your kids are grown, you've accumulated some savings, and the option of taking Social Security is just right around the corner. And in my experience, the right time for most people to make this shift from growth to income is during these all-important transitional years. For one thing, what it's going to do is align your strategy with your goals right away. And the sooner those two things are aligned, the more effective your strategy can be. But understand that making a return on your money can be the sum of both growth and income. Growth, what we call the G, is measured by capital appreciation. And income, we call it the I, comes from a return in the form of interest and dividends. And by investing directly for interest and dividends, yes, you may get slightly less return than you would have if you continued to invest for capital gains, but you also eliminate or reduce the risk of a major loss. And the reason is because bond and bond-like instruments, income instruments, and a true income strategy are designed to not only protect your portfolio from market volatility, but also to guarantee your income regardless of those market conditions out there. So, why is it so important to do this, to make this shift during the transitional period before you retire? Well, let's think back. Remember back in the year 2000? Yeah, the market dropped 50%, and it took almost 7 years to recover. And remember in 2008, it happened all over again, but it was only worse. Well, if during that time you were in your 30s or 40s and you had all your money in mutual funds, yeah, it stunk and it was bad, but at least you were young and you had plenty of time to recover and you're still putting money in. But what if that happened again when you're only 5 or 10 years away from retirement? What if you hadn't yet made that shift from growth to income? If that's the case, would you still be able to retire when you plan to? Or would you just have to continue working to build things back up again? The point is that making the right move at the right time to income not only aligns your strategy with your goals, but it reduces your risk, which is increasingly important as you get older and closer to retirement. So, what's this notion of organic portfolio growth that I mentioned? Well, let's say, for example, you made the shift to income during your transitional stage, and you're getting around 4% in the form of interest and dividends on return. You're still working, so you don't yet need that interest and dividends yet for income. So what you can do is basically just use it to continue to grow your savings. Plus, if your plan includes the right value stock dividend strategy with certain risk tolerances, you even have more potential for growth. That's because if a stock market correction does occur, you're not only in a position to reinvest your dividends into shares now at a lower price, what you're going to see is your income will actually increase as the market does recover. Because of this, you can be not only happy when the market is going strong because you know your income return is secure, but you can actually be okay when the market drops because you know you're able to take those dividend payments and actually buy more shares and get a return on your investment organically. And that's what comes from a winning strategy aligned with your goals and timed just right. Now let's welcome back David Scranton. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Wes. So, it was a whole bunch of years ago, I can't remember, certainly more than a half dozen at this point, that I heard you're doing a lecture for a group of financial advisors, and you were talking about all the most common mistakes that people make in planning for retirement. So, yep. Is this failure to make a timely shift from growth to income philosophically in the client's mind, is this the number one biggest retirement planning mistake that in your experience?
It probably is. I mean, that's what I've seen. The biggest fear that most people have when they're in retirement, it's not the fear of passing away, but it's the fear of outliving their money. And what I've found is that the reason why most people are outliving their money in retirement, or having to take a significant reduction in income later on in life, probably when they need it the very, very most, boils down to that mistake, is that they fail to make a shift. They fail to make a shift from the accumulation phase, the growth phase, to making a shift to income and focusing on distribution and investing for interest and dividends. No doubt about it. That's why this timing that I just talked about is so important.
So tell me, why is it then that you decided to make the shift? Because remember, not only do clients have to make the shift philosophically, but most advisors start with a growth mindset when it comes to how they handle clients. But you had the courage to make the shift from a growth mindset as an advisor at a very young age, I might add, to an income mindset. What was your motivation for becoming an income specialist?
Well, yeah, I've been doing this now for nearly 20 years, starting the industry in 2003, and right out of the gate, out of college. And if you remember, the market was way, way, way down. Well, I noticed that all these advisors around the office were just, continuing to send their retirees checks out of their accounts. But what was happening is that they were just liquidating the accounts when all these shares were down. Now, these advisors had lived through the 90s and a lot of them through the 80s, so 2 fantastic decades in the stock market. But I'm sitting here brand new in the industry and saying this just cannot be a very good thing. So the reason why I made that shift is I know that interest and dividends, if it's coming from that instead of principal, is a better place to be.
God bless you, my man.
Yep. But, well, thanks again, Dave. And hey, I'm Wes Wood, the income guy. And if you have any questions of anything that we've covered today, please reach out to me at retiretv.com or by calling 855-776-0614. Thanks for watching today's show, and be sure to tune in next week.